Bitcoin appears to have just formed a BART pattern, fake out to the upside with a strong move downside, but in reality, Bitcoin's just moving sideways per my May 17th video where I calculated at least until May 21st to May 22nd, Bitcoin needs to move sideways without any type of range resolution. You can watch that video right here, and I'll also link you to that at the end so you can see how I would guess that Bitcoin's simply going to move sideways for this period of time. Also, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a short trade setup that technically I missed. However, I was waiting for it, but I wasn't at my computer when it happened, and something I was talking about my VIPs who wanted to short Bitcoin and short, take on big short positions, and I let them know, no, you want to wait until this happened, and that actually did get the signal pretty well for this serious downside move, although I wasn't at my computer to take it right when the signal happened. So I will show you that at the end of this video, so make sure you stay tuned if you are a person who wants to check out what it's like to try to have setups in a futures market, and let's dive in. All right, the weekly open is right here, close to 31,270, and that is roughly the top side of the range. Might be a little bit above it, but roughly top side of the range. The bottom side of this range, horizontal range, not the trading channel, the green, but the orange and white here. The bottom of this is around 28.7. Bitcoin simply just went sideways. It's going sideways, right? And therefore, these patterns here, yeah, it might look like a fake out, and it kind of was in this trading channel. It used it as support and broke down. However, if you're using a horizontal channel, it's literally just bouncing in a channel, right? And again, on May 17th, I showed why I think Bitcoin will go sideways for a bare absolute minimum 8 to 10 days. So technically it is 8 days. So I might have said May 20th through the 23rd is when you'll get range resolution. And you can go ahead and check out the video if you want, if you want to look at it at the end when I link you to it. So what's going to happen from here? Well, I'm going to try to remove the horizontal stuff here. And looking at simple this trading channel. This trading channel is saying something slightly different than what the daily RSI is saying. It's saying that this range might want to resolve itself soon, because if the top of this point of control, so this section right here is essentially what I would call the point of the middle, the meat of this of the range from here to here, and this is a second range, essentially a second channel. So you have two channels on top of each other. Which isn't very common, but we have a double-decker, like a double-decker bus. So because price fell below here, before you get a decent-sized bounce, you typically have to touch the next line. There could be an exception to this where it falls below, gets rejected, and then comes down. I could see Bitcoin testing up to 29.5 potentially. However, this was a pretty aggressive move. So I would say a slightly less than 50% chance before further downside movement that 29.5 is hit. And it might just hit this. However, because of the aggression of this move, it is possible that you can't get a significant sizable bounce up over 2 to 4% until the bottom of this trading channel or the bottom side of this is hit. And if we are compare that to the horizontal range here, just like this, that would be breaking out of it roughly after close to 10 days, right? So 10 days from about this point. And if I measure here, boom, we're at 8 days and change, right? So 8 to 10 days was what that video back on May 17th, I believe, said. All right, now that's what this channel is saying. However, I am, in terms of when, trying to time the market, which is very hard to do, and really you can't do it. It's kind of silly to try. However, I am getting a different time signal from my daily RSI. The daily RSI with this down move is still intact. It got above the EMA and could stick its landing if it just goes sideways, and that would mean range resolution likely wouldn't happen for a little bit longer until the RSI hits its head closer to this red line or closer to the white line is usually when some type of mini run goes like this and then it spills on over. Hopefully I can go back, look left in time and see an example of this. When you get roughly halfway down in the zone, you have some type of move up, bump your head here or here before a further downside movement. So if I go left here, this is roughly an example here. So this RSI went close to halfway point, went above, so it actually never stuck its landing, but it just popped above. It made higher low, higher low, higher low, although it's not on top of this EMA. And it bumped it ended up making lower lows after the RSI got roughly between the red line and the white line. This is very typical after you go halfway down. You work yourself out, and again, this would be like another 8 to 10 days here. So we are equivalent to something, maybe this, or maybe here, like the third higher low. So I will go from here to here. That's another 10 days. But if you say we're about here, though, let's say at this juncture right there, this would be going sideways for another 7 days before range resolution to the downside. So this would be essentially floating sideways and a tiny, tiny bit up without doing anything special to the upside, not getting really above 31 or 32K or anything. So this basic rule works pretty well. And this is also common if it's going to make a significant higher low. You often bump your head on the red or white line, which is what this did. It came down significantly, so we'll actually go to price, see how big of a drop that was, and that was, I would imagine that was a higher low, but it could have been close to equal low of this. I'm not really for sure, so I'll go back to June, but in price, it actually did make so that was a lower low, and that is actually a tradable move. That's 30% to the upside just doing this. Do you see that? So there actually, I guess, could be a decent move to the upside. But the range on the 1 hour chart is totally disagreeing with this. My deck, what do you call it? My stream deck is not working right now. It's not connected. So let me make myself big here. So we have a little bit of disagreement of range resolution and what's going to happen in the very short-term time frame over the next 5 days. The daily RSI is allowing for this to keep, floating sideways and maybe even testing up just a little bit, breaking into the second range of that double decker. And I'll give you some exact targets if that were to happen. But the range itself, a simple structural analysis, totally disagrees. So I'm still getting a little bit of disagreement in the chart, which makes sense. Why? Because price is just moving sideways. That's all that's happening right now. We don't have range resolution, therefore different time frames and different indicators versus structural they're likely to tell you different things because there is no resolution yet. It's going sideways. So it's going to be chaotic, and you're not going to have unity, or your different signals or time frames or different things that you use, MACD versus stochastics or stochastic RSI, or whatever you're into. There's a strong likelihood during choppy sideways movement they don't agree, and when they do agree is when the move is starting to get range resolution. Does that make sense? All right. If you and again, at the end of this video, stay tuned, because I'm going to show you how you would have gotten a signal to short at the correct time with maybe only getting stopped out once and getting it on the second try here. Make sure that you've checked out my Discord. You can join live video voice calls with me 5 or 6 times a week, and for the higher tier within there, I have a set of live trading leaders, 3 of them with different styles that schedule their calendars, and you can jump on accordingly and see if you're wanting to learn how to dink around with futures and leverage trading safely and with guidance. And also my Twitter is Cosasverdes with the number 2 afterward. If online communities are not your thing, but you want exclusive content 10 to 14 times a week above and beyond what I offer on YouTube, click the join button right below this video, and another video pop up describing your options to you. All right, so let's dive into one more thing here. 8 red weeks in a row. That was one of my recent videos, and you can see here, now that we're on Friday, the likelihood of getting above this line is looking pretty slim. So we're going to have 8 red weeks in a row, and also the traditional markets are having their bloodiest string of weekly candles in a row since 2000, since the dot-com bubble. This is moving faster technically than the 2008-2009 recession with Lehman Brothers and the housing market and all that stuff. This is moving slightly more aggressively and faster. Therefore, if we can take that as an extra indicator how traditional markets are moving, I would lean slightly towards, if I had to pick which one during this range resolution, I would trust the channels. I would say that the channel rules, if I had to pick the daily RSI signal over or this one, I would stick with these lines. I would first see how price interacts with this line if it gets up there, or I would see, will it make a lower local low here? Let me zoom in. Or will it make a local lower low? So for me to get better direction, instead of waiting for a range resolution of this, in order to front run whether it continues staying in the range or breaks out, as opposed to going to the top, but whether it stays in or busts down, to front run that idea, I would use this as a range resolution. So let me zoom into that part And this is how, I would try, essentially to front run bigger, stronger signals here. And a lot of times it's correct, is will it close a 1 hour candle below 28,870, or will it close a candle above 29,270? So 29,270, or first 28,850. 28,850. Which one's first? If a candle can close above here, I would say that the daily RSI gets the edge on getting the signal right, that this will keep moving sideways for, I don't know, another 7 to 10 days. It could be another 7 to 10 days with the possibility of testing more to the upside, but it's very likely going to continue going sideways, which is normal, because the bare minimum was 8 to 10 days of sideways given what the daily RSI did. That's bare absolute minimum, and most of them were actually 30 days. So this would go, so if this is broken, I would imagine more sideways. However, if a 1 hour candle is breaking below this point, then I would give the favor to my structural analysis, in which farther downside targets are going to be hit, and the horizontal larger range, if I zoom out here, this range right here that I sloppily drew, I would guess that that's going to resolve itself to the downside more immediately. Am I making sense here? So essentially I have two most likely scenarios, if I could say this very bluntly. The two most likely scenarios are another 7 to 10 days of sideways, which you would break into the double decker here and maybe use this as resistance, which is, what does that align with roughly? It roughly aligns with another lower high in this range, close to this range resolution. 7 to 10 days is one option, and then we'll reassess after 7 to 10 days. Or it breaks out of this rather immediately and test either the top of the point of control, or the bottom of the point of control, or even potentially as far down as the bottom of the range, closer to 26K. But I would say I would stick with these. So it'll move, it'll resolve itself out of here and hit roughly 28K on the nose, or 27K. It's actually almost even thousands, 27 or 28K, and resolving itself immediately. And I'm using the 1 hour signal, as I just showed you just about a minute ago, to determine which one do I have an edge on. Right now, it could really go either way. I don't know if it's more probable for 7 to 10 days of sideways, or if it's going to resolve itself out of here. However, I will know pretty soon, based off my 1 minute micro range here. That should give me an edge on which way it's going to go. Am I making sense here? So right now, I'm essentially telling you, these are the top two likelihoods. I don't know which one it's going to hit, but here's how you tell and how you get an edge. All right, now I'm going to show you, we're going to dive in. I'm going to show you what so on a VIP call, I had some newer folks on a recent one who were interested in shorting, and it's like, man, I'm just not seeing short opportunities, so I'm just playing oscillations up and down, just farting around, not doing any big positions. I was like, I'm waiting on this specific signal. This is the signal you want to look for, and I was describing it, and I want to show you what that was. So I typically don't like shorting when the 1 hour RSI, so specifically the 1 hour chart. Okay, this is a cool rule of thumb, and you can steal. This is free. This is really decent free content, and you can use this for spot trading as well. But spot trading in these conditions is pretty awful. It's hard to make money in spot trading when things are so aggressively down. But you can use this trick in the future as well. I don't like shorting or taking strong, selling out of a token when the 1 hour RSI is above its EMA. I simply don't like to do it. My perfect signal, for example, is I wait till it breaks out and down below the EMA, okay, and then bumps its head on it, and then the next candle flips red. So it would be actually not on this tick here. So this is one juncture, this is 1 hour. This is the next hour. You'd have to short on that specific candle. And you can see here, I would have shorted here, been stopped out, tried it again, because it's essentially making a lower high, and I would have tried it again roughly at the beginning of this candle, and then I would have hit that move. And so a lower high structure. You see that? Lower high structure, but specifically not here, not from here to here. Why? Why wouldn't I short this? Because it's above its EMA. And I kept stressing to people, this is this is not a good, a heavy position short opportunity. I don't think it's going to fall off this cliff yet. And we were matching that with the structural analysis, diving in here. I was thinking, man, it's just not ready to fall back below this yet. I think it's going to keep going. Therefore, I'm just trading up and down on 5 minute and 1 minute charts, essentially farting around until I get my big signal. Then I'll go heavier on my trades. But I wasn't at my computer when it happened. And you can see that that's what's happened. So actually, let me make some vertical lines here. I would have tried shorting at the beginning between, I'm actually make two vertical lines. I would have shorted closer to the first one, but it wouldn't have been exactly on the first. So between these two, I would have been shorting. I would have been stopped out, and I would have tried it again between this one and this one. So between these is when I would have entered my shorts, and I would have had to try it twice, which is normal. When you try bigger trades, you should expect to try it probably twice. It's how many? So sometimes, let's see here. I would say 1 out of 5, maybe 1 out of 4, I get on my first try for a decent sized move. And look, these are the times. So look how good of a signal is. I would have shorted between these two per that signal, and look, I would have gotten the move perfectly. I would have been able to stay. Not any scares to the upside, being a loss or anything the whole time. You see that? And then I would have gotten the move absolutely perfectly. And I had a lot of folks really thinking it was going to break down. But the 1 hour RSI was, this is my base rule. I try not to short ever. Like, unless it's a very small position and I'm just, doing a 5-minute oscillation to the downside. Very, very small trade. Not doing anything big, not expecting big percentage moves. But I don't short for a decent sized move beyond 2 to 3% in raw price, unless specifically the 1 hour RSI has gotten below its EMA, bumps its head on it, then starts ticking down with the 1 hour candle starts printing red. I start shorting. Does that make sense? And sometimes you'll get it to pop up just a tiny bit more, and you'll try it a second time, and then you can short again. And for this trick, you typically only have to try it 1 to 2 times, and it has a very, very good hit rate, particularly when you're mixing it with structural analysis. As that's all doing this, during this formation in RSI, is this a lower high than the previous high? Yes, it was. So if you see this signal, and this high went above that one, I would lean into it. I would actually trade a little lighter. I would be more cautious, because if this high had gone above the previous local high, that would increase the chances that this actually makes a, let me get rid of these lines here. So this is one more thing to think of. If this got price above the local high of here and here, which it did not, if it had though, it increases the chance that this continues upward and onward and breaks into this green zone and just keeps floating up. However, if it's structurally a lower low and you wait for the signal on the 1 hour RSI, so it's a lower low on the 1 hour chart, then your chances are extremely good. Like, this is way better than a 50% chance of working. Like, it's probably closer to the 70s. And you would have only had to try it twice here, and it had a great hit, right? So you would have had a pretty nasty move to the downside. I don't know when you would have taken profits, but if you're short in here, could have maybe taken profits at after 4% move, and on, if you're using 5x leverage, that'd be about 22%, just over 20%, because it's just over 4% raw price. So that'd be a 20% trade, and that'd be a good trade. So, and that's the type of stuff that I cover on my VIP live calls, but I do it in the moment, right? So when people are coming on, and they're asking live questions with their microphone, usually not their camera on. Most people keep their cameras off. They're asking me those sorts of questions, and I have 3 sets of live leaders who are on at different times to help guide people with their questions if they're trying to learn that and they want to practice either with a trading account or with very minimum amounts of money within their futures account. And I'm getting a lot of wave of people doing that, so hopefully this was helpful for you. That's just one type of entry, and I use it all based off of, is it a lower high structurally, which it was on a 1 hour, and the signal is wait for the 1 hour to go below the EMA and come back up and bump its head on it and try it once and maybe try it twice and then rock and roll. And that's what we got. And you just got Timified Worldwide. Peace.